What is operating system? Any ideas? Let's go to in a bit detail. Set of program that manages all computer components and operations is called operating system. So it actually manages and operates. So what does manages mean? Control, seeing, observing, allocation, how much resource could be allocated to this one, to that core, to that processor, how much data would be fetched from the RAM, from the hard disk. So that is all managed by operating system. Computer can do nothing without an operating system. So yes, we believe it's a kind of controller which control and gives instruction and perform instruction. Must be installed on every computer. Very simple things. User interact with computer through OS. So actually user, so it is like once one person said that it is a bridge between user and a computer hardware or computer system. So it actually allows the user to interact with the computer system. When computer is turned on, the OS runs and check all parts of the computer are functioning properly. So it actually also observe the computer system, either it is functioning properly or not. For example, sometimes your Wi-Fi doesn't work and there is written like troubleshooting option. So you just click on the troubleshooting and it starts searching where the problem exists. And then the system gives you some suggestion to connect your wire or like check your router, check your Wi-Fi connection, or sometimes it repairs itself because it tries to connect with the router and the router just responds back and connects the router to the computer system or computer to the router. OS manages all operation on computer after loading. So what does the loading mean? Loading means properly start working. It is responsible for the management and coordination of activities and the sharing of the resources of the computer. So three things: management, coordination, and sharing resources. See, what does sharing resources mean? Sharing resources of the processes. For example, when there are multiple processes run, then operating system actually gives the processor to the processor, a process to the processor, like give back this process, and like this process 2 is more important, so this will run. So for example, you are talking on a WhatsApp or in a messenger, and then you want to print a page, Control P. So while you are talking, still printer is connected and a page is printed out. It means while you are talking, so the process is fetched for a moment and then your page is printed. How about when you write some, like for example, you write something on MS Word and then you can click Control P, and then at the same time you start writing. So for some time MS Word hang, you cannot add anything because the process is already, the MS Word is already assigned to the printer because that document has already sent. That's why a process is a bit halt for a moment. So actually, operating system manages that kind of processes. OS is the set of program that acts as an interface, again, a kind of accessibility and bridging mechanism between user and a computer hardware, as he said. Some important OS are Windows, Linux, Unix, and Mac OS, popular computer. You can add many more. Well, it's a bit difficult question. हमें देखना ये होगा कि what does it mean, like what does this mean, betterly management? You will check the optimization processes and Then, I mean, there are many features you can observe them, like security, resource management, processing power, processing ability. But at this stage, I cannot answer you the concrete answer that which manages betterly manage. macOS is a better due to security reason, in processes security or accessing of the security. In one sense, my make might be better, but then Linux is a kind of customizable. You customize to your need. You cannot customize Mac and Windows. They are proprietary of their own companies, Windows and Mac. But based on security, Mac is better than Windows. And Linux is customizable, so you customize that to your need. So this is the general diagram. How like user is connected through a computer via this operating system. User, operating system, and computer hardware. Please. How about this one? There is between like user, MS Word, operating system, and hardware. User, application, operating system, and hardware. User connects through an application, which could be Microsoft, MS Paint, MS Excel, WhatsApp, and Chrome, you name it. And that is connected to with operating system and hardware, and they are intercommunicating. Two-way communication. Similarly, this. So, for example, operating system is interacting with these hardware and software applications. For example, monitor, it sends the image or the like what you are seeing, and then keyboard, printer, mouse. When a document you want to print, it sends that document to the printer. And similarly, it accepts the input from the input. It reads the input from the mouse, not accept the input, but read the input. What you want to do? Okay, so it actually interprets what you want to do and describe an application. Operating system perform the following functions. Booting. What does booting mean? Starting running up. We will see in a while. Memory management. It manages your memory, your RAM memory, your uh, register and cache memory. It all manages by this OS. Loading and execution. So load, process loading or application loading. When you click on the application, it loads to the system. And when you want to do something like you just press Control P, then operating system execute that function and start sending document to the printer. Similarly, data security. So data security is important because data security in process in application data security. For example, you write something on your MS Word, and you are also doing something in MS Paint. So if those two processes are intermixed, it means the data would be corrupted. So the processes security is also important. So OS also provide that security. Disk management, process management, as I said, processes, handling processes, which process is important, which process is not important. So that is called preemption. For example, if a more important process comes in, so less important process goes out. So that is called preemption, process preemption. So that is all done by the operating system. Device controlling, as I gave you the example of printer, like you can also say the keyboard, mouse, and all that device controlling is done by the operating system. Printing controller, controlling and providing an interface. Interface means the face you are seeing on your computer. That is actually interface. Any question? Yes. Booting. We are coming to that. What is booting? Process of starting and restarting the computer is called booting. Your system turns on. So you say that my system is booting. Do you want to reboot your system? Sometimes you see that message. If you want to reboot your system, click yes. And you click yes, and then your system restarts. So that is rebooting, restarting. Or starts the computer to work. So it actually starts the computer and everything. After seeing that everything is okay, it gives it to you to use it, the application. It checks the computer and makes it ready to work. There are two types of bootings, and then you see two types of booting. One is so there when you want to shut down your computer, there you see you click on. By the way, what does this power symbol mean? You see this power symbol, right? There is an O and then a line. So what does that represent? Have you ever thought about that? 0, 1 actually, power on off. Okay, so that kind of symbol. Let me. How many of you doesn't know about that before? Okay, like this symbol. This kind of power symbol, power on off symbol. It actually comes from this one, 1 0, and that is mixed to this one. 1 0 means power on off. So there are two kinds of booting. One is cold booting, another is warm booting. So I was giving you the example when you go to your computer and start shutting down, you see that there are many options. You want to sleep the computer, you want to restart the computer, you want to shut down your computer. So actually there are three, not two. Sleeping is also kind of booting, but I don't know which in which maybe that is or sleeping maybe just that might not be booting, but you are saying your computer to all your processes. BIOS नहीं manage करना. BIOS is just the information of turning on the system, but actually operating system manages all the processes. So BIOS, yes, interacting with BIOS is also the functionality of operating system. BIOS the booting device provide. Yes, that just turns on the booting device. What does BIOS mean? BIOS stands for basic input output. So the basic operation of turning on is in the hands of BIOS. What does cold boot means? When the computer is turned on after it has been powered off completely. So you have shut down your computer, then it is a cold boot because everything is cold. Everything is just finished. And then warm boot when the computer is restarted. Want to restart your computer, that means you want to warm boot that. Important function of OS. Memory cannot be managed without an operating system. So that is actually important. How much memory to be allocated to that document, because that is important. Memory management is an important part. Second one, different programs and data execute in memory at one time. So different programs are executing at the same time. Okay. For example, you are talking, you are sending messages, and similarly, you have played a song on YouTube. All these processes actually is running on your computer. So, and the memory hold by. So actually, when you watch a video live or listen a live video, it means that is running in your Chrome that has already taken your space, and RAM, because the RAM taken by uh, Chrome. So when you open multiple windows, Chrome windows like 10, and check your RAM, check your taskbar, task what, task manager, and you will see that most of your RAM would be taken by the Chrome, because that windows, multiple tabs you have opened, actually that is taking your memory. If no OS programs will mix with each other and system will not work properly. So that is important. The differentiation between processes and giving space to one process and giving back space from the another process, that is managed by the OS. So that is important. The disallowing the intermixing of process, that is very important. Otherwise, everything will be destroyed. Data security. What does data security means? Data is an important component of computer. Yes, everything is data. And what is information? OS protects the data that is stored in computer from illegal use, modification, and deletion. Without deleting, I mean, once you give request to the operating system, it deletes from that space. Still, it gives it to some recycle bin to give an option either you want to recover that or not. So actually, that is all managed by the OS. And protection, like I gave you an example that you are working in two different documents at the same time. So it doesn't mix the things, like saving that in RAM and hard disk, but still they are not intermixing. The same thing, just you pop up again. Security is normally maintained by using user ID and passwords. Again, another thing, there are multiple login IDs. User logins. You create different user login in a computer and you cannot access the other users if you are not the admin. Okay, so that is all managed by the ID and passwords identifies each user independently. So that is a kind of security to disallowing or restricting users inter-user access. Network administrator define different levels of access for different users. So for example, the computer you want to access the mainframe computer or mini computer you are using in your labs. So you have limited access of that. If power goes off, then you cannot and then turn on. You cannot even start a single application. You are asking for a lab attendant to open this for me. So it means you have no access. What the network administrator actually restricted your access to that computer. So actually, that is managed by a network administrator through an operating system. Disk management. It manages the disk space, manages the store folder and files in a proper way. What is a disk? Storage device, permanent secondary storage devices. Okay. So it also manages that data, your hard disk. Your files are stored in somewhere in your hard disk and some store folder, and the file is maintained in that way. So it doesn't mix up with each other. CPU can perform one task at a time, single CPU. So multiple core means multiple CPUs. Okay, so a single CPU can perform a single task at one time. If there are many tasks, OS decide which task should get the CPU first. But there is a long process going on, and that is less important work. For example, your system, sometimes your system hangs, and you have no other option but to restart that system. So actually, that means your RAM is occupied fully, and the processor doesn't allow other processes to come in and remove that process from your processor. So that actually halt everything, and OS doesn't do anything better. And he's just trying to resolve that issue by itself. But in the end, you just you give up and restart your computer. Actually, that is the responsibility of operating system. It controls all devices attached to a computer. Hardware devices are controlled with the help of small software called device drivers. So the devices are controlled by actually the drivers. You install the driver and you tell the operating system to control that devices. For example, when you connect a printer to your computer, it doesn't work until you download your drivers from the internet or from a CD. Sound drive, and you cannot even. Most of the drivers usually comes with Windows these days. You doesn't need to uh, install that. It means that becomes a part of your operating system. Okay. But before you needed to install sound drivers, uh, video VGA drivers, and all that kind of important drivers needed to be installed. But these days, these all are managed by the Windows itself. But for example, when you connect a new hardware with your computer system, for that you need to install the driver so that the operating system actually interact with that device. For example, you buy a new printer from like HP, and then you go to the HP website and download the driver of that particular hardware that is already provided by the company. So when you install that, then you see that printer starts working itself. So what does that mean? When you give that device drivers to the operating system, it actually knows how to operate that printer, how to give them instruction that this document is sent to print. Meanwhile, when you are printing and you say that, oh, this is the wrong document, so you just press cancel. Then the operating system requests the driver to stop that process in meanwhile. So that is also managed by operating system. Printing controlling OS control printing function. If a user issues two printing documents commands at a time, it does not mix data of each file and print them separately. See, you just control three and two documents you want to print at the same time. So actually, separate details is printed on a separate document, and it doesn't intermix with each other. That is also managed by OS. Providing interface. User interface is used to interact with the computer. User interface controls how you enter data in instruction and how information is displayed on the screen. So for example, you want to zoom in, zoom out, control say as you save document, you copy, and that is all managed by the OS. And you interact actually with that through that interface with a computer, because file saving, printing, managing your style, that is actually your OS is interacting with you through that application, or that application actually gives you. For example, you make your document style and then you print it, and that style, that document print out. So actually, what an OS do, it actually read all the required things given by that application and give you that output as you need. Different types of user interface are command line, menu driven, and graphical. Have you seen this command prompt before? So this is actually command line or terminal user interface. In command line interface, set of commands are used to interact with the computer. Difficult to use, require exact spelling. Actually, dealing with terminal-based interface is very difficult because you need to give exact spelling. If you just write I instead of A, it doesn't work. It will not work properly. It generates an error if there is a slight mistake in the command, so it will not run. So it needs expert level to run this to operate through this command line. इंटरफेस वो आपका है इट डिपेंड्स कि आपकी एक्सपर्टीज क्या है. अगर आपकी कमांड लाइन एक्सपर्टीज ज्यादा है तो आप उससे भी कर सकते हैं. अदरवाइज जीयूआई बेस आपको एक्सेस देता है कि आप क्विकली उसको करें. फर्ज करें आपने अगर कमांड लाइन से किसी डॉक्यूमेंट का प्रिंट लेना है तो आपने लिखना है कि ब्ला 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 एंड देन आप जस्ट जीयूआई में जाते हैं और प्रिंट का एक आइकन दिया होता है, उस पर आप माउस पे क्लिक करते हो और आपका डॉक्यूमेंट प्रिंट आउट. सो यूजर फ्रेंडली कौन सा है? जीयूआई बेस्ड. It menu driven. What does a menu driven mean? In menu driven interface, the user enters data and instruction by using menus like drop down menus, buttons, options. So that is actually menu driven. You are given different options to choose among them. For example, you want to print a document, so you have given 3 options. Either this one, this one, this one. So that is actually menu driven. It's easy to use because the user has not to remember the syntax of command. So one problem with the command line is remembering the syntax. So in menu, when you are given all listed ones, so you doesn't need to remember. You just see, oh yes, that was the command I have entered earlier. So you print that, you click that one, and that command is entered and operates accordingly. Graphical user interface is a visual environment to communicate with computer. Uses windows, icons, menus, and other graphical objects to issue commands. So the typical interface that we are using today is a GUI based. A menu is a set of commands. An icon is a small picture that represent program instruction file. So there are icons. For example, you see the printer picture, that is icon. Okay, save button. You like when what you're doing in your lab, there was a small window in your laptop. There are given save button, printer, and that is the icon. Okay. Mouse is mostly used input device in GUI. Mouse is input device. All window-based software uses GUI. So let's discuss some difference with the command line and GUI base. Command line difficult to use. GUI base is easy to use. Command line is more control of file and operating system because you're directly accessing through commands, while less control of files and OS X GUI because that gives you limited access. You just access already all things which is you can see directly. The things which is hidden, you cannot access that through GUI. It's provide multitasking, but difficult to view multiple things on a one screen because it gives a multitasking option, but watching that is difficult at the same time. GUI based enable easy user view and manipulate multiple things at one time. So you have open multiple windows and you manipulate at the same time. Okay. Use keyboard faster in performance than GUI. Use mouse slower in working. Mouse ज्यादातर यूज होता है GUI बेस पे और कमांड लाइन में कीबोर्ड आपका ज्यादा यूज होता है. फास्टर होता है परफॉर्मेंस बिकॉज यू डायरेक्टली गिव्स इंस्ट्रक्शन. दैट्स व्हाई इट इज फास्टर. स्लोअर इन वर्किंग. GUI स्लोअर इसलिए होता है, दो तरीके इसका मतलब है. There are two things. One is directly accessing to that point. For example, you want to print, you just click on icon. But then that GUI is converted direct again to command line coded. So that's why it's slower than the conventional one. But when you see that with the perspective of interaction, then GUI is more faster, because when you write code, it takes some time, and when you click an icon, it takes no time. Within no time, you just click an icon, it gives you printer. So in terms of interacting, GUI is faster, but in terms of operating after the given instruction, then command line is faster. So graphical user interface is GUI. Graphical user interface. Okay. Let's discuss types of operating system in our next class. Okay, any question? ड्राइवर्स कैसे काम करते हैं? वो हार्डवेयर और जो आपने नया हार्डवेयर इंस्टॉल किया है उसका और ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम के दरमियान कनेक्शन एस्टेब्लिश करता है कि ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम ने उसको कैसे ऑपरेट करना है. फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर आपने ड्राइवर इंस्टॉल नहीं किया तो आपका प्रिंटर काम नहीं करेगा. ठीक है, तो जब ड्राइवर आप इंस्टॉल करते हो तो आप बताते हो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम कि ये प्रिंटर है, ये इन इंस्ट्रक्शन पे काम करता है, आप उसको ये इंस्ट्रक्शन दो तो आपका हार्डवेयर काम कर लेगा. ठीक है, हर हार्डवेयर का अलग ड्राइवर है जी. उन डिपेंड करता है कि वो किसको फर्ज करे. अगर आप इस यूनिवर्सिटी में देखें तो आईटी टीम में उनके पास एक्सेस ज्यादा होता है, टीचर को एक्सेस उनसे कम होता है, स्टूडेंट को उससे भी कम होता है. तो लेवल बेस्ड उन्होंने रिस्ट्रिक्शन दी हुई है कि किसको कितना रिस्ट्रिक्ट करना है, डिपेंड करता है कि उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है. हाँ, जो कंप्यूटर आपका स्टार्ट होना है, कैसे स्टार्ट होना है, वो एम्बेड हुआ होता है. बाकी जो सिस्टम में कैसे चलना है वो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम का काम. हाँ, बूटिंग का मतलब है कि आपने लोड किया है, पूरा ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम लोड हो गया, उसी कंट्रोल में सारे डिवाइसेस आ गई, इट्स कॉल्ड बूटिंग. ठीक है.